critical water main break affecting citywide water usage. Today we will hear from Calgary Emergency Management Agency Chief Sue Henry, City of Calgary Water Services Director Nancy Mackay, Calgary Fire Department Chief Steve Dongworth, City of Calgary Mayor Jody Gondek, and City of Airdrie Mayor Peter Brown. Chief, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to start off by again saying thank you to the citizens of Calgary. Calgary, we know you've been taking this seriously and we need you to continue to do so. Based on the decreased water usage we saw this morning after we talked about decreasing water, we can see that your actions have an impact on everything that happens in our system. It is wonderful to see Calgarians coming together to help us, and a special thank you to everyone that has pitched in and aimed for that extra 25% decrease. Although we have seen at various points throughout the day a decrease in that water usage, we can do more and we need to do more. We have received regular volume of calls about water quality and pressure in the city, and we know that in some cases your water might not be exactly what you're used to. You may have seen a change in this pressure, and this change can cause changes to your water. Our water quality continues to meet or exceed guidelines. Only those communities in the boil water advisory need to take extra actions and boil their water for 1 minute before consuming, and that is the community of Bowness. If you are concerned about your water, please call 311 and log a ticket with 311. Thank you for reaching out with all of your different questions through 311 and through social media. We have received several requests for clarification around showering. In general, we are asking that you cut your standard shower time, whatever that looks like to you. I know showering is very different for people, but we're asking you to get in, do the basics, and get out. Take at least 25% off of the normal time that you would take. We also want to encourage you that now is not the right time to wash your car. You need to drink water. You don't need to wash your vehicle unless for some reason there's a health and safety risk associated with your vehicle. Our bylaw and enforcement teams have now received over 170 calls. We are following up on all of the calls and educating those who aren't using water responsibly. Tickets are a last resort when situations do escalate, but warnings are issued first. Most of Calgarians that we have visited have been very open to reducing their water usage when it is brought to their attention, and we've gained a lot of compliance through this education first approach. Most of the complaints that we've received are around people watering their lawns or around automated sprinkler systems. If you have an automated sprinkler system, disable it or consider shutting it off at the tap. As a reminder, the outdoor watering of plants, trees and shrubs, and outdoor washing is still restricted as we are in stage 4 of water restrictions. The fire ban continues to be in effect, and Chief Dongworth will speak to that shortly. You can expect to see enforcement of the fire ban and the water restrictions over the weekend. We have continually evaluated the risk, and there are a number of community events that were planned. Particularly, there's a lot of interest in the Stampeders opener game this evening. Things like this do not have a large draw on our water supply, and we understand the Stampeders game will go ahead as planned. If you are visiting Calgary over the weekend, we need you to help us save water for the next few days, and we thank you for your contributions while you are here. Please remember that Highway 1 is still impacted, so the road is still closed at 16th Avenue and Home Road, and that closure is in effect for the foreseeable future while the crews are working on the ground. To wrap up, I'd like to again encourage you to save water, be a part of the solution for this, use 25% less water than you used yesterday, and I will now pass over to Director Mackay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to let you know that our crews continue to work around the clock. We've uncovered both sides of the pipe and exposed where there's been some damage. We can now pump out that remaining water, expose the rest of the pipe so we can finalize our repair plans. This is good news, but I want to tell you it's still going to take days in order for us to make that repair and get that back into service. There's still a need for conservation, as Sue spoke to. We're continuing to see demand exceed supply. What does that mean? we're able to produce, and it's a funny number to relate to, but if you think about 520 million liters of water a day, that's what we're able to produce. It's coming largely from one of our plants for the entire city. It's impacting all of us. Our demand today averaged 610 million liters, which means we're continually drawing down the amount of water that we made up last night. Storage throughout the city is being depleted. That a reserve of water supply is throughout the city. We have what we call reservoirs, not like the reservoir Glenmore that we know, but they're underground storage containers of treated drinking water that are throughout the city that we are supplying homes and businesses with water. We're monitoring those levels very closely all throughout the city. So again, we really need Calgarians to take this seriously, do all they can to reduce water. Please remember that all outdoor use is temporarily banned. And if you have questions about what you can do or cannot do, please visit calgary.ca. I've been asked this morning we talked about what will happen if it goes forward with demand exceeding what we're able to produce drinking water for Calgarians. We're not going to run out tomorrow, but I can tell you we will run out in the days to come. And again, there's many variables that we are monitoring and evaluating. What are those things? How much water can our Glenmore treatment plant produce? Very carefully monitoring that, how much everyone's able to save. And we're also moving water in new ways around the city to make sure that those large containers or reservoirs that hold that treated water that we have throughout the city are topped up for our essential needs. So again, thank you everyone for doing what you can, and I'll turn it over to the fire chief. Thanks, Dongsworth.
Good afternoon, everyone. We as well are working hard to ensure the safety of all Calgarians. Our firefighters are really committed to their community. We've done a lot of planning over the last 24 or more hours, 36 hours, however long this has been going, in terms of making sure we can continue to provide the best service possible. Ultimately, though, water is an essential commodity for us to fight fires and to protect our community, and that's essential for everyone to know. The fire department needs water to keep all of you safe. So we're asking you to reduce your water usage, as the previous speakers have just mentioned, as much as possible over the next few days, so that we have enough to do our work in keeping you safe. We have plans to supplement water supply where necessary, to change our tactics to reflect the fact that we may not have as much water as we need in some circumstances, and also to redeploy some of our apparatus and equipment across the city. We're here for you as always, but you can help by taking all precautions to prevent fires. You can help to save homes and save lives by taking small steps, of course, like just been mentioned, doing your laundry next week, taking shorter showers, not watering your lawn, delaying your plans to have a fire pit at the weekend. The most common causes of fire are cooking and smoking. So for that reason, we are appealing to Calgarians to be very careful when they're cooking, not to leave their cooking unattended, and to be careful as you dispose of smoking materials. As has been mentioned, we have a fire ban in place, and I realize that's difficult for some people when we have such nice weather. But again, anything we can do to reduce the incidence of fires, particularly over the next few days, is essential. We've also restricted the hot works permits. It's where people want to do welding in the construction industry or anything else that involves tools that create high heat, propane torches, tiger torches, those kinds of things. Again, a fairly common cause of fire. It's impacting roofing companies and people like that. I apologize for that, but we see that as absolutely necessary to minimize the risk of fire during this difficult time. If you're enjoying Calgary's green spaces this weekend, remember that dry vegetation and smoking materials don't mix. Move dry vegetation from your yard to your green bin. Prune tree branches at least 2 meters from the ground. Anything you can do to reduce the incidence of fire or fires from spreading will help us. Working smoke alarms save lives. Always remember that. This is a good time to check your smoke alarms and check your fire extinguishers. And I'll remind you again, the Calgary Fire Department here is to help you. But we would ask in this circumstance that you do what you can to help us. And you can help us by taking steps to conserve water until our supply is fully restored, as well as doing everything you can to prevent fires from occurring in the next little while. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I should have asked
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just start by plainly explaining what's happening, because there's been a lot of questions about why is this impacting all of Calgary if it's just a feeder main that's up in the north part of the city. It's because you can consider it like an artery or a transmission line. So this is the piece of infrastructure that flows water to all of the reservoirs that are located in the various communities in Calgary. As our director mentioned, there's about 23 of these reservoirs, and it's like a tank that's full of water. And that tank is what gets water out to all of the communities. So as we are drawing down on those tanks, that's where we're going to get to a point where we run out of water if we don't start practicing some conservation. So that's why it's important for all of us to be reducing our water consumption. I want to thank Calgarians who have been practicing water conservation. I know you have been working hard to reduce the amount of water that you're using, as well as the folks in our neighboring communities. I know that a lot of them have also been trying to conserve water in this challenging time. And we greatly appreciate that our municipal neighbors have followed our lead on water restrictions that we've put in place. We're in the midst of a significant water supply challenge, and it requires a unified effort from all of us. Our water resources are interconnected within the region, and what's happening in one community definitely impacts the other. And that's why it's important that we all come together collectively to reduce our usage by 25%. And as we continue to actively work with neighboring communities like Airdrie, we are sharing resources, strategies, and information in an effort to create a resilient plan that will allow us to have a safe water supply. And our collaboration is absolutely a testament to the strength of our region. With that, I'd like to invite Mayor Peter Brown from Airdrie to come up.
Thank you, Mayor Gondag. I want to begin, first of all, by thanking the amazing professionals that work at the City of Calgary who've been on top of this situation from the moment it's occurred, and can't thank the crews for working 24/7 to address the issues that are before us right now. I also want to echo, I just want to say ditto what your comments, Mayor Gondag, but I'm going to repeat some of what you said. I also want to thank Airdrie residents for doing their part and reducing their usages, but those who don't know, quite surprised today to learn many people in Airdrie don't know where their water comes from. So it comes from Calgary. We're very fortunate to have an amazing relationship with the City of Calgary, and they've been supplying us water for decades, and that's going to continue. So just want to remind everybody, we're all in this together, and make sure that when we're doing anything, this is such a critical time that every drop counts. The City of Airdrie's followed all the same Calgary's lead in closing our pools, our arenas, recreation facilities, outdoor spaces until such time as this situation's been rectified. The city obviously is also taking the lead. We're not watering any plants, grass, trees, nothing. Everything's shut down. We've spoken to our top 100 users of water. Two of them, the two top, and the other ones have received letters, and we're going to continue to do that. We're active in doing everything possible to help our neighbors here in Calgary. So I'm going to ask again to Airdrie residents and those in Chestermere and Strathmore, sorry, speaking on behalf of those communities, but do your part as well. Let's all contribute to getting to that 25% goal. Use less water and make sure that we're doing everything possible to resolve this situation, to create opportunities to conserve water. And the sooner we do that, the better we're all going to be in the long term. So thank you very much. And just remind everybody, follow the social media feeds, certainly in the City of Airdrie. Go to our website, and there'll be updated information all the time. And again, great thanks to the City of Calgary for keeping us right up to date from the moment this occurred. Thank you very much, Mayor Gondag.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. So simply put, the biggest message today is that we are using more water than we're able to produce. So think carefully every time you turn on the tap, or think about running the dishwasher, or you're going to consider having a shower. So talk to your friends as well, and talk to your neighbors. Remind people that we all have to put in a collective effort here. And to close, I want to say a really big thank you to the dedicated professionals who are responding around the clock, literally working 24/7 to make sure that the crews that are working on repairing the break are active all day and all night, and the crews that are working here within the Emergency Operations Center to provide information and feedback and analysis to everyone who needs that kind of information. I think it's fairly safe to say we often take our water for granted, and it's moments like this that remind us that we need to be a bit more considerate about what we're using, as well as the concerted efforts behind the scenes that we sometimes don't see. The expertise and commitment of the teams that are helping us through this difficult time deserves a great deal of gratitude from all of us. And I also want to thank Councillor Sharp and Councillor Wong, who have been actively out in the community and engaging with the City of Calgary teams to make sure that their residents are well served in the midst of this situation. With that, I'll turn it over to you. Yeah, we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, just a question on the flow pipe that was being, this large flow pipe. It's apparently big enough to drive a vehicle through. What needs to happen? Does that whole thing need to be replaced in that block area? And if so, where does that come from? Do we have a pipe like that, or does it have to come from somewhere else?
Thanks for the question, which is what happens? We've got a break in this pipe. What takes place? And do we have parts? What does that look like? As I mentioned earlier, we are just able now to have a look at that, and we're going to extend that further so we can see the extent of the damage and then put a plan together. Our engineering team has been putting together a plan with different scenarios right now. We keep parts in place, especially for major feeder mains like this. And what I'm hearing is we've got, and we always do that planning for regular maintenance and having parts on site. So my understanding is we've got what we need, but we really need to identify and look at the entire situation once we get that first close look and then finalize those plans. We're going to be careful bringing this back on. This is a really big, important line. It's the biggest line from our biggest treatment plant, and that biggest treatment plant serves 60% of the city typically, and this is the major line. We're not just going to turn a switch on this. We are going to make sure that it's going to, the integrity is there. We're wanting to make sure we follow all the proper procedures for water quality, working closely with our Alberta Health Services folks. So there's a lot of steps to make sure that it's right and it's doing what it's supposed to do, and we're protecting public health in addition to ensuring the supply is there for the essential things like firefighting. Thanks.
That repair plan, is it a question of just like how many meters of length of pipe need to be replaced? Do you have to open up the ground that same kind of measure to take out what you've got down there now and put the replacement in? Is that what you're talking about?
So you've just asked a lot of detailed questions about that repair plan, and I don't have that detail. I know I've got amazing folks down there who are confirming all the steps that they need to take. We brought in more equipment to excavate. And part of that is where we put that equipment, how we're bringing it in. So there's a lot of details, and you've asked a number of detailed questions that I know we've got teams that are working on that right as we speak. So I'm sorry, I don't have that detail, and frankly, they're still working on it.
When you say that we're using more water than we have, if we continue at this rate, how many days supply do we have before that becomes an even bigger issue?
So the question is, if we are using water more than we were able to supply, that's treat that water and put it in the system, how many days do we have left? And again, the answer to that is complicated because it depends on how much we're all saving in that supply and demand. We're doing that analysis right now. I was hoping to have a bit more definitive for you here today, but I can tell you it's going to change each day, and it's going to change for different parts of the city because we are changing how we're moving water each and every day in the city. So it's complicated. Keep them working on it, and I understand it. Days, a week, somewhere in that order. Based on right today with what I have, I'd like to get you more detail, but again, we're monitoring a number of things that are continually changing.
When you talk about moving water around the city differently, what does that picture look like? Is that how the system is used? Is it actually like, I don't know, having convoys of trucks moving water to our reservoirs? Does that work?
Thanks for the question. What does it mean moving water differently throughout the city? Are we moving trucks around with water? And that is not, thank you for the question. It's not what we're doing. A lot of the water system, it happens underground, so we don't think about it all the time. So our two sources are the Bowater and the Elbow Bow and Elbow Rivers, and that's where we have two treatment plants. But in the North Bear Spa, where this big pipe was attached to, serves 60% of the city. Glenmore is the other off the Glenmore Reservoir that we're familiar with. So we treat that water to an incredibly high standard, and it goes into our distribution system. What does that mean? It's a network of pipes and pumps and stations that move that water throughout the city. They're big, small, throughout the city, lots of redundancy, meaning number of pipes coming into a community. So when there is a break, which breaks are a natural thing that happens, we can move water differently into a community to keep fire flows and keep people in water. What's happening this time is we're moving water in a very different way, because that biggest artery, this feeder main that broke, is the biggest one from north to the south of the city from that big plant. So we are moving water from Glenmore in the south very differently through our pipes that might not even have had water moving in that direction. Again, this is all happening underground and people don't necessarily see it. Where does that water go? It goes to what we call reservoirs. What's that? It's a big container of treated drinking water that might be under a soccer field in a community that delivers water to a geographical area about the same elevation, so that we can provide the right water pressure in those pipes in your community. So we have 23 of these drinking water treated reservoirs underground in the different communities. We're monitoring those levels for each of the geographic areas. I hope that helps a little bit explaining it's not trucks, it's pumps and pipes, and a whole lot of folks monitoring water quality on a daily basis. We do sampling at our plants, and in those pipes and in those 23 reservoirs that hold that treated drinking water that we pump from every day. And we've got lots of sensors through the whole city. So we're really watching where it's going and what the quality of it is.
Nancy, are there areas where people are actually losing their water? Is it a pressure thing? Is it something that's sort of incidental where it passes quickly? We've heard about some areas of city today not having water. I don't know if that's like, can you elaborate on that?
Thank you for that. The question is, are there some areas of the city that have no pressure or actually even no water? When the break first happened, there were parts of Bowness in particular that did not have water. Yesterday, we were able to, or this morning, confirm some new direction and pumping to bring more water into Bowness. So as far as I know, folks should have some water everywhere in the city at the moment. What is going to be different is the pressure that people experience when they turn on that tap. It may not be what you're used to, and that can happen everywhere in the city. This is impacting all of us because we're moving water differently and there's not as much of it for us. So it's, and then because we're moving things differently in the system, the water, it may kick up some things that have been there. They're safe in the water, and it might look a little different just because we're moving water differently in those pipes in a way that they haven't moved before. Our water, as Sue Henry did explain, Chief Henry, that it is excellent quality. We test that, and we far exceed what we're required for water quality in the city. So I just want to reassure folks, with the exception of Bowness, where we do have a precautionary boil water advisory because of the disruption to that line. It was depressurized, so it's out of abundance of caution that we have that boil water there. What will that mean when we bring that back on? It is, we are required to flush and do some different testing. We can't do that right now because we don't have the water to do it. So that boil water is really important. It is precautionary though. Thank you.
Where the length of time it will take to fix this pipe as you discover more of what the situation is, that you have to use additional measures to move water around? Are there any more measures you could do, or are you just sort of stuck with what you have now?
The question is, are we looking at additional different measures to move water around the city? What I can tell you is I have an amazing team of folks that are coming up with some different options each day. And we're trying different things because we're facing different challenges, and we're monitoring the system, and they are coming up with something new every day. So I think we've done a lot. We're limited with the infrastructure that is built over generations that we have in Calgary and that we maintain, and we can't put a new pipe in. It takes a long time to plan and build new infrastructure in water. Often, you know, for our big stuff, it can take 8-10 years to build things. So we're working with what we have to do the best we can, and the team is doing a fantastic job.
Any other questions? Yep.
Hold up. I was just going to say, I know that you said that the Stamps game doesn't necessarily use a ton of water, but I can imagine that some people sitting at home thinking, well, I'm shortening my showers, I'm not doing my dishes. Meanwhile, there's all these people in the stadium using water. What would you maybe say to folks that might get a bit fed up with this and see that?
So what's really important, I think, for all of us is to do our part. And individually, what can you do? And I think going to watch a football game, sense of community. We looked at water use at the stadium, and we couldn't make the case that was going to save it, any more water. So it's really each individually in both your business, your operations, your facilities, your homes, churches, community or association. What can you do each and every day? And I would certainly hope that you know, folks are thinking about that too as they're going to the game and enjoying the game. Thanks.
One other thing, Nancy, and that is for water usage, like in people's houses, is there any benefit to, you know, delaying when they get to using the dishwasher? Do that at 11 o'clock at night or, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning, anything like that?
Thanks for the question, which is around delaying the water using activities, for example, laundry, that type of a thing. At the moment, it's about for us, it's about total volume. What happens during the evening when folks are clearly asleep is that we are able to recover and pump to our stations. Over the course of the day, as I mentioned, our demand, that's the use of water, is higher than we're able to produce. So it's actually the gross numbers for us right now that really matter. So again, if you can delay rather than just adjust the time of the day, that's most appreciated. And really thank you, everyone.
Anything else for Nancy? We good? Any other questions for Chief Henry?
Chief, can you talk a bit more about what the enforcement piece looks like over the weekend? I know the city generally goes with education, but in this situation, what is enforcement? What's the threshold?
Absolutely. So we have put extra crews on for the weekend to help us with any anticipated call volume that we would get. We generally go with education first, with the education designed to gain compliance from the citizens. That said, if we do have to issue warnings and we do have to issue tickets, we will do that. This is incredibly important for the citizens. It's incredibly important for all of Calgary. We haven't reached that point yet. The citizens that we've talked to have been, for the most part, incredibly compliant. We have, as of this morning, issued 4 warnings, and we will be ready to proceed if those circumstances continue.
And what's the threshold for a state or local emergency to be declared in a situation like this? Is there any advantage to doing that?
The state and local emergency provides us a number of different powers under the under the Alberta Emergency Management Act. Those powers are very specific in what they provide, and there currently are not any powers that are listed in there that the City of Calgary needs to be able to complete this work and coordinate this work. We have everything in place already, so the state and local emergency would not provide us any additional advantage.
Any other questions for the Chief? Questions for Mayor? Very good. My gosh. I guess that's a wrap. Thank you, everyone.
Time to break out those 90s t-shirts.